Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Jesse Karangu, also known as JMK TV Show on Twitter and Instagram. I am experimenting with this app known as Locker Room. It's basically a live audio app where you discuss sports or trending topics with anyone that is also around and using the app at the moment. And so I'm literally trying it out right now for the first time to discuss a topic that is near and dear to my heart: sports media. I know you normally don't hear an average person saying that, but I love the ins and outs, the ups and downs, and everything in between of what happens in sports media. And today, a story came out in the New York Post that definitely got my attention and just has, my brain wiring and thinking about what's happening. And in case you're not aware, Andrew Marchand of the New York Post broke this story this morning, the day before the presidential election. He says that ESPN is in $1 billion NFL TV battle for Sunday Night Football. Now, if you are not aware, Sunday Night Football currently airs on NBC. It is the primetime package with Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Michelle Tafoya. There's a studio show that airs before Monday Night Football with Mike Tirico, Rodney Harrison, Tony Dungy, Chris Sims, and the insider that NBC has employed, Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk, which NBC also owns. As you guys can see, I love sports media. I'm a geek for sports media. Anyway, so this package, actually, NBC pays $950 million a year for it. And actually, out of all the networks that pay for TV packages, and in case you're not aware, ESPN has a package known as Monday Night Football. Fox and CBS air Sunday afternoon football games. Fox airs NFC games. CBS airs AFC games. But a couple years ago, the networks and the league decided, in order to maximize the amount of viewership that is watching the NFL at any particular moment, that they would do something known as cross-flexing, which would give Fox and CBS the right to switch off when it comes to the conferences whose games they air. For example, Fox, as I said before, is the home of NFC games. But with the cross-flexing, they have the ability to air AFC games and vice versa. CBS airs AFC games, but has the right to air NFC games. Fox also owns Thursday Night Football rights, so Thursday night games that air on NFL Network are simulcasted on Fox. And I think I got everything. I think those are all the packages that are included. And so, out of all the networks that pay money to the NFL, Fox is at like $1.1 billion when you include Thursday Night Football and their Sunday afternoon games, and that's per year. CBS is like around $1 billion as well, and that's per year. ESPN is at, I want to say, 1.9 to $2 billion per year for just Monday Night Football games and one playoff game per year. NBC has the best package of games, has the highest rated package of games, although Fox might say different, because Fox's games technically at 4 p.m. They frame it as the America's Game of the Week. Those games usually air around 4 p.m. on Sunday afternoons, and they rate the highest out of any television program in this country, in the United States. They average around 22 million last I checked, versus NBC's viewership is around 20 million every week. But prime time is what really matters more so than anything else. Prime time is the big bread and butter of television. It is how I guess advertisers are able to reach a large audience, and so advertisers rely on prime time in order to achieve the goal that they have in terms of trying to reach viewers. And so when you look at all the primetime shows that air on American television, Sunday Night Football rates the highest on NBC. And so having the best games as well as paying the least money is a great deal for NBC. They're paying $950 million. According to this article, that is all about to change, possibly, because ESPN is trying to acquire Sunday night rights and also keep Monday night rights. Let me read a little bit of this article from the New York Post. It says that at the moment, ESPN spends $2 billion per year for an inferior Monday night schedule and no Super Bowls, while NBC writes a check for a mere $950 million for Sunday night, which includes flexible scheduling that allows the NFL to shift better games into prime time, as well as a spot in the Super Bowl rotation. ESPN doesn't have any spot in the Super Bowl rotation, which means that as of right now, ESPN and ABC cannot air Super Bowl. If Disney gets what they want, and if you guys don't know, Disney owns ESPN and ABC. If Disney gets what they want, they're going to be able to acquire Sunday Night Football and take it away from NBC, move it to ABC, get some rights to be able to air the Super Bowl at least once every 3 or 4 years. And now that leaves NBC in the dark. They're going to be looking for another package because obviously in this ecosystem that we're in right now with media, it's really hard for a traditional media company to make money without some type of NFL content on your platform. And so, according to Andrew Marchand, he says that NBC would then be looking to acquire the Monday night package or look to acquire the Thursday night package. A couple years ago, back in I want to say 2013, 2014, NBC and CBS split the Thursday night package, and so that wouldn't be anything new for them. They've done Thursday night football before, but the quality of games probably wouldn't be as good as what they're getting right now with Sunday night football, and they definitely wouldn't be paying the same amount of money that they're paying now. So this could cause a whole bunch of dominoes to break through because there's a lot of questions that arise if Sunday Night Football moves to ABC. What does that mean now for Monday Night Football on ESPN? And hypothetically speaking, if NBC is able to acquire Monday Night Football from ESPN, there's no way the NFL is going to give NBC the same quality of games that they've been giving to ESPN in the past because it's a primetime package on a huge network. And so it's going to be super interesting to see how all this plays out. And who knows what that means for ESPN. This could mean that ESPN could possibly not have any NFL on their air in a couple years. Joining me now is Andrew Jones. Thanks for joining me, brother.
Jesse, what is going on? I don't know if this is your first locker room in terms of room discussion started, but if it is, welcome, good sir.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I'm experimenting here, so it is for sure. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I didn't even know this was happening until your room stated this because I see it happen early today with Andrew Marchand up here with the post. But wow, that is something that is going to be interesting because, well, first off, I would hope that it will be long the end of Al Michaels' announcing days, where Al, even though he's always been a very good voice, sometimes Al can say certain things about certain opinions, and I just feel that particularly with the booth and a lot of these NFL booths outside of Louis Riddick, for the lead announcers, as you notice, they're all white for a league that's still predominantly black. So
That's a really that you raise.
yeah. Oh, yeah. So that would be interesting to see with that. And I think that Disney would at least make sure that they have some non-white representation in the announcing booth. But yeah, that will be major because, I mean, Sunday Night Football, not only the most watched NFL game throughout the course of any week for NBC, but the most watched television show on all television.
Exactly. So if Disney's able to acquire this package, it could possibly stabilize the business, but it also brings into question what their strategy is, because recently the CEO announced that they want to start to focus more on streaming and less on their linear product that's on cable and possibly even on broadcast. So it just kind of goes to show that even though they're trying to move away from streaming, the NFL is still always going to be king. There's
but
never going to be any kind of contact that's going to be able to compete with what the NFL brings to the table, which is
for,
interesting.
for sure. But you know what's fascinating that you say that, Jesse, with streaming is that we see NBC with the Premier League now with this ridiculous peacock that is just very annoying, where they're putting the biggest game of this season, Man City Liverpool, on Peacock Premium.
Yeah.
Which is really nauseating, and just frankly, I just feel that I'm gonna cancel my NBC Sports subscription and just follow and find the game in my own means. But the NFL is just too big to just put behind any streaming aspect. It's still gonna be a regular TV, cable-ish TV thing, and the momentum for that will be interesting to see. But it's still, if ESPN is able to make this move, they'll still have to say themselves, well, we obviously have to put this on local ABC, and ESPN simulcast if we want to. But yeah, this is a thing that it would be just massive, and to the point where they won't be sticking this behind ESPN Plus.
Exactly. Joining us is also Sunny. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. I think this is a great conversation, and welcome to the app. And it's always nice to have these sorts of conversations on there. Andrew, I think it's just a great point about NBC moving there. I mean, arguably the best game of the past couple of years straight to behind Peacock. And I think it lines up pretty interestingly that I think it was last week that ESPN announced that they were moving most of their writers off of like main website ESPN and putting them behind the paywall as well.
Yeah.
And so,
unbelievable.
And so I have two thoughts here. Maybe, do you think that they'll just move their current Monday night package and make them the announcers? I mean, Greasy's been terrible, but I think Louis Riddick's been okay. And it's, as far as hitting that diversity goes, I think it's nice to get at least some background. But another side is, what if they have a sort of a two-stream approach where they do something behind ESPN Plus, on regular ABC, maybe they have the standard Greasy and Riddick, and I forget who the play-by-play is.
Steve Levy. Yeah.
Steve Levy. Yep.
Yeah, Steve Levy. Oh man, throwback from the old SportsCenter days. But but then maybe on the other side, maybe on the premium platform, they get a more fun crew, right? And they get like the Good Morning Football, Nate Burleson, get the Mina Kimes types that might bring a little more energy as sort of like an A/B test. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I could definitely see that. I think even when you look at the brands that ESPN currently has, under their wings at the moment, you just mentioned one, Mina Kimes, who has a huge podcast following. The Dan Le Batard Show with Stu Gatz, they have a huge podcast following, and that's one of the shows that is part of the thing that you just mentioned, where writers and radio show simulcasts are being moved behind the paywall to ESPN Plus. I could see fans of those shows wanting to hear a totally different, non-traditional perspective on the game. That's more fun, that's more interactive, that makes them feel like they're more included and it's more inclusive, and being willing to pay $5 a month to ESPN Plus for that advantage. I could see that. And I think we've already seen the NFL starting to experiment with that. The NFL obviously lets ESPN simulcast their playoff games every year on ABC. Earlier this season, they let ABC simulcast a regular season game, Raiders and Saints, I believe it was, in Vegas.
There's also the Nickelodeon deal.
Exactly. Later this year.
Good point, Sonny.
They'll be simulcasting a playoff game on Nickelodeon. So I think the NFL seems already open to that. With the Amazon Prime deal on Thursday nights, they seem even more open to whatever Amazon's doing, because Amazon has like 5 different feeds that you can listen to. So I don't see how the NFL would say no to ESPN or any of their other traditional rights holders if that was something they proposed. Andrew, what do you think?
These two gentlemen mentioning some great points here. The first thing that Sunny mentioned in terms of those alternate broadcasting options for them, if they want to do that on a stream, I think would be something they would want to look into and explore to expand their base. I mean, first, Sonny, you said it exactly right in terms of both Louis Riddick and Brian Greasy with Steve Levy. Brian Greasy, this is the reason why he was doing college games. He still is like so steadfast, or unpaid football games, as I call NCAA's cartel. He was just steadfast to a lot of the same cliches and a lot of just really uninspiring stuff. And it was so awkward whenever there's any discussion of a non-football issue, particularly when it comes to any black players, as we saw with DeAndre Hopkins a few weeks back, honoring the life of a South Carolina black slave. And that was really telling that Lisa Salters did that wonderful report. But Louis Riddick, who should be the Giants general manager, and we see how that's working for the New York Giants at the moment. One of the smart minds, deep minds, really a guy that's likable across the board, where he has an entertaining voice, but still knowledgeable at this simultaneously. So really someone that is, just a great guy and a great mind in the game, and, deserving of his accolades. And Steve Levy is always going to be excitable with his broadcasting. There's a few others that may certainly warrant the position where it's going to be tough for Steve Levy to get that. And Mike Tirico must be saying, damn, I leave. Yeah. I leave ESPN and try to get to be the number one announcer in NFL for the biggest thing, and then this is all of a sudden could be happening. So that would be something that I'd be telling. In terms of both Mina and having both interactions with both, say, not Mina directly, but at least on Twitter, and then directly with a few of the Lebertard show. I truly do wish that we be able to explore like the most talent that is going to both entertain but also enlighten at the same time. And sometimes I feel that those with big reputations already, they may not necessarily be the best in situations. So I think that yes, it is going to be the case of the audience needing to know who that person is behind the stream. But it's something as well as that person, to me, already coming with a reputation where across the board, no one can question them, not only for a knowledge standpoint, but are they entertaining while being able to announce the game? And I think that will be telling to see whether it's someone Amina Kimes or someone with another reputation who can be able to say to themselves, all right, they won't get nitpicked, because someone's gonna nitpick out of nowhere in terms of anyone's announcing, but whether they're able to nitpick with a legitimate reason and not because of them just hating.
One point that you brought up earlier, Andrew, that I kind of want to explore a little bit deeper is the lack of representation of non-white announcers on television. I think even radio has progressed more so than what we see on television. A report came out earlier today from Richard Deitch where he talks to Chris Fowler, and Chris Fowler talked about how he's neutral. He's not sure, but he's not sure if he'd do double duty with the NFL and college football, but he's open to it. And Kirk Herbstreit has also talked about how he's open to double duty. And they seem to, I guess, have, major names in the industry compared to anybody else. So the likelihood of that happening, in my opinion, in terms of having more diverse representation calling a primetime game, is slim to none. Because those are the two guys who have the bigger names, who've already had a chance to call Monday Night Football in the past, and who seem to... when I start to see stories coming out around the same time that other rumors are coming out, it seems like it's all a little calculated. I don't know. I'm not in the industry, to know that. but
Mm-hmm.
it seems calculated, and it also, asks a bigger question about, why is there no pipeline for African American and Asian American announcers to get to these kind of high level positions, whether it's play by play or even color analysts. Uh,
Yeah.
when I think of high profile African Americans right now who are calling major sporting events, I guess Gus Johnson calls pretty high profile
Mm-hmm.
games for Fox college
Mm-hmm.
football wise.
Yeah.
Gus and Mark Jones,
He said
you know,
what?
and Mark Jones for
And Mark
ESPN.
Jones and Mark
Yep.
Jones. I think that's it.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, Sonny, if you wanted to say something real quick before I really get into this, considering like I've been trying to be very vocal about that, being in the industry for now coming up on a decade. Yeah, I mean, Sonny, if you want to say something before I say something on that, because Jesse makes a point that is very, very peripheral.
Yeah, let me just. I think I'm going to toss you an alley oop then. But when I'm a Cowboys fan, and so every now and then we'll play the Rams on preseason, and they'll be
Mm-hmm.
experimenting with like the Siciliano, Mina Kimes, Nate
Yep.
Burleson, like the LA NFL Network guys, and it's just significantly more engaging. And so if I'm Disney and I'm Bob Iger, let's say the decision goes all the way that high, you have to be looking at the people that are actually fun and entertaining and say that this is the future rather than the Kirk Herbstreits, especially because college football is largely a sport that is dominated by white America as far as who's watching it relative to the
Mm-hmm.
NFL, which is a much more diverse audience. So I mean, to me, it's a no brainer. Why wouldn't you have the more electric personalities that are already proving to be successful?
Yeah, and you know what, Jesse and Sonny, goes back to a few years ago with Gus Johnson. Gus had become to me the premier voice on CBS right there, along with Kevin Harlan, and obviously the reputation for Gus precedes it, being dominant in March Madness with his announcing. But yet they wanted to go with Jim Nantz to be not only their golf face, but then have him be both the CBS face for, of course, unpaid basketball for so many years, and then for the NFL. I mean, Greg Gumbel, who sadly I forgot to mention too, the great Greg Gumbel. He started off as the lead announcer for CBS when they got the NFL back.
From
And
NBC in the
yeah,
90s.
yes, that's right. From NBC in the 90s in terms of the AFC package, and he announced the Super Bowl with the Giants and the Baltimore Ravens. That the notorious Super Bowl in Tampa with the Ravens winning and everything surrounding Ray Lewis in that situation. But this is a situation where CBS has long been a little bit of not really respecting the fact that despite the lead that they cover is majority black, they don't have that in the representation of their announcing. And that was the thing that was really odd to see Gus Johnson having to then go to the college ranks. And even though he was the number one announcer now for Fox for unpaid football, it's still something where he should really be the guy that, for a lot
Cause
of people who loved
Madness.
him, huh?
Cause March Madness.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, the guy should be the number one announcer across the board, and the reward for him was him being pigeonholed into a soccer to be the soccer number one commentator job, but he has no background in soccer, and that obviously did not end well, for him. But this is a thing we talk about, and this is something where this was already highlighted for years and years and years, endlessly, but really has gotten into keen focus, sadly with, George Floyd having his life be lynched in front of all of us. But in terms of every other like black injustice that we see, and to not even have that representation after we had a summer of a lot of these outlets and media do performative lip service and to say that they were going to represent this now, and to really, they were just trying to say the word diverse when they need to really say black as well too. Specifically, it
Yeah.
was just a thing where I just don't see that unless people are very vocal about it. And And one thing that I saw real quick earlier today that I didn't even know happened, at least at the end of September, was that Sean McMahon, the CBS's sports president at the moment, he kind of cringed at Tony Romo just basically giving just a normal, reasonable opinion about the protest, and not even anything controversial that no one remembered him talking about. And he was told, as well as Jim Nantz and I guess Tracy Wolfson and any of the CBS announcers, including play-by-play man Charles Davis, who's black, that they don't want to speak too much on the protests on air or situations like that.
I
It's just
missed this.
something that's a
When
real
was that?
issue.
Yeah, what happened? What can you run it back?
Yeah, I mean, I could get you the article in a bit, but I saw this today where I was saying to myself and examining if we were having true of these big outlets representing the causes that they were trying to be in solidarity for over the summer. And I came across that article about it, and I'm gonna post it in the chat because Jesse, this what's so great about this app is Ethan will tell you in the as he's listening on the live, is that you can post the links and any links in the comment section, and they're clickable. So I'm gonna post that right here in the comments as
I like
this
that. I
article.
like that feature for sure.
Yeah, there you go, and you can just tap that right there, and that's what makes this great all the way. But yeah, that was the thing that was really kind of really pissed me off, honestly, when I saw that, because it was something where Tony Romo is not going to be the person that is the quote unquote de
Great.
facto social justice, Black warrior. So it was still odd to see that.
Yeah, and I just wonder. I don't know what the process is in terms of becoming a play-by-play announcer. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what resources need to be provided to
I can
see
tell you, man. Yep.
to see if there's any interest in, because I'm sure if you educate and provide resources for African American candidates at a young age, I'm sure if you provide those kind of resources that you would see an uptick in potential candidates that have never been realized before, that have never been seen before. I know of this one app. I forgot what it's called. I think it's called Sportscasters or Sports something. I don't want to talk about a rival app, obviously, but they have a fund that they've recently started in reaction to the George Floyd situation, where they are looking for young black talent who do want to do play-by-play, and that's the first time I've ever seen any kind of targeting for black and brown people in that category. So other than that, I don't know what else is out there, and I don't know what networks are doing to seek it out as well.
Well, that's going to be the telling thing, Jesse and Sunny, and how for a lot of people that don't know this, is that the agents really are pivotal sometimes, or at least in terms of, I guess, maybe before the landscape has needed changes. But having an agent to get you these roles where it's that whole quote unquote who you know thing that was just a standard thing that people abided by in this industry, and tried to really say that was the criteria, just as much, if not more, than someone's resume, and just if they're able to be great on air in terms of both enlightening but entertaining and being competent on air. That was always and still is now at the moment the thing that is just as much as the key as how long your resume is.
Right.
That's it. Mm-hmm.
Right.
So yeah.
This is such a fun conversation, because even if we take away just the quality standpoint from it and just look at things from a pure business perspective, I mean, you can just see the split in the way that Turner has their NBA halftime show versus an ESPN halftime show, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't, I mean, like, just watching Chuck and Shaq go at it versus the ESPN, I mean, it's totally different. You can't step away at halftime during a TNT game. And ESPN, that's not the case at all. And so you just have to think, and everyone's reading the same stats. The information is publicly out there. The NBA is a growing league. The Americans and people around the world love the NBA, and the NFL should be shaking in their boots because people just aren't loving it the same way they used to. And I'm a football guy through and through, and but I'm terrified of what is going to happen to the league. So if I'm thinking of this from a pure business perspective, how do you not catch those trends and just say, yeah, let's do this? It's mind numbing to me.
To play devil's advocate, though, do you think that the ratings dip that the NFL did take during the last election cycle, and how heated the debate was about Colin Kaepernick, do you think that is playing a role in why, despite the messaging being out there about, hey, we think Black lives do matter, hey, we think that there are organizations worthy of donations, that the faces that you see in front and even behind the camera aren't, reflecting that message? Do you think that has a role in it? And I want to add one more footnote. In that same Richard Deitch article I was talking about earlier with Chris Fowler talking about being neutral with doing play-by-play for the NFL, there was also an article where CBS yesterday had the first game that ever included an African-American director and producer.
Oh gosh!
Wow.
First game. Let me make sure I have that 100% correct. Let me go fact check that. But yeah, and the NFL has been in existence for 100 years.
101.
101 now. Yes.
That if that's true, Jesse, and I definitely believe that is the case because I didn't even come across that. But if that's true, I hope that those at CBS or anywhere around the league are not patting themselves behind the back over that. Like
they are, though. They are.
And and if they are, Sunny, I will call them out directly because that's appalling. That really is appalling. And you have to say to yourself, like, if something happens tragically over the course of this summer or this year, in the summer, if that was going to happen. So it's the things just like that. And when we talk about this, whether in sports or non-sports perspective, the systematic racism of things like that is a thing that is pretty prevalent, and how it is a thing where in the sports landscape, when you're trying to have these discussions with these athletes that you cover, it'd be one thing if it was the NHL, where the NHL is not predominantly anything else other than white. You could understand that. MLB a little bit more difficult because it does have black and brown representation across the board. But for that to take place in the NFL and still in the NBA too, with a lot of majority production crews, still majority non-black and majority white, is a thing that you really have to examine in the landscape and in the focus. And if ABC is able to make this move, and ESPN and Disney to get Sunday Night Football, Mike Tirico, by the way, his own personal things and situations with his whole identity have been fully in question, but that's his business for sure.
Yeah.
Is the thing where we're gonna see if that takes place. But the fact that Louis Riddick is the only announcer that is black of all of the major number one networks still, and it's that lifetime legacy contracts, the legacy contracts of when you're in these positions that I think fully need to be evaluated in terms of who really are top announcers, instead of just saying, well, these announcers are number one, so we might as well stick with them. Because goodness knows how many people criticize Jim Nantz when Phil Simms with him. And I didn't even mind Phil Simms that much because Phil Simms wasn't a jerk. So, but it is what it is.
I just looked in the Athletic, and it is confirmed. Last night during the
Chargers
game, CBS broadcasted the first NFL game with an African American producer and director. So it just
That's wild.
I was thinking this conversation was going one way, and it went in a much better direction, and in a much better, dire situation that should be discussed for sure. I wonder if things change. I wonder if things change and how long it takes to change.
I mean, we saw the Bucks. This is a sort of a different direction, but this conversation just got me thinking. So please humor me a little bit. But we saw the Bucks essentially just change the summer in the NBA in the bubble when they decided to protest or essentially were willing to forfeit a playoff game. God willing, tomorrow goes well. But what happens if the NFL? Do you see any scenario where something like that there could be some sort of stoppage in the NFL over something that happens tomorrow? And how do you think the league would react?
That's a really good question. I don't think. I don't want to generalize. I just don't think NFL players are as politically active or politically concerned about issues that affect them. I think the NFL and the game of football in general, it's a culture of we're all in this together, but I don't need to know what's happening at home. I don't need to know about your business. There were very few figures like Colin Kaepernick and Eric Reid who were willing to take that leap of faith versus, when you look at the NBA, it's unapologetically black.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the WNBA, it's unapologetically black.
Mm-hmm.
And representation is a big factor in the way that these players talk, the way these players represent themselves. That matters. And so if something major would have happened tomorrow, I guess it would depend on how major it is, but I just couldn't see it. And I think the partners that are involved in the television side have money to make. The league and the owners have money to make, and there might be another PSA. If you watch an NFL game on CBS last week, you saw they had a little chyron that said "Your vote counts" as the games were being played. But other than that,
yes, they were trying to emphasize that, Jesse, so badly. They want to make sure a certain person, a disaster in tweet, does not get reelected tomorrow. And yeah, I mean, and honestly, even that is a little bit of a thing where they know what they're doing with this because they weren't pushing this 4 years ago or 8 years ago. And it's something where I think that they may think that just because if it is a Biden presidency, which I said that it'll be since April, but that they think that things like this are going to go away. And if they're thinking that, and some of them are, they need to really realize how dumb they're being.
No doubt about it. Guys, this was dope. Thanks for joining me. Definitely want to do this again. And
yeah,
fan of this app for sure.
Yeah, and Jesse, just to tell you for sure tomorrow, and as well as Sunny, every day at noon, do this show called Overall. If you do want to come in, if you're free, because Lord knows everybody's busy. But tomorrow we're gonna, unless something dramatic happens with the Giants and Buccaneers, which I can't see that happening tonight. But unless Daniel Jones has another dramatic great run and then just unfortunate stumble that goes viral.
That would be great.
Yes, it will be, not for Daniel Jones and his family, but it certainly would be, no doubt, comical. I'm doing Elise and Election Day tomorrow show because of not only covering sports, covering politics and progressive side. So it's going to be, I'll try to make it definitely fun and not any weird, seeing any anxiety coverage as you may see in other sources.
Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Andrew.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Jesse. We'll see you around for sure.
All right, thanks.